Okay, so could you please at first introduce yourself? Like who are you, who you work for?
Yeah, I'm Sang. I'm the editor here at the Frontiere Myanmar. I manage the Burmese edition website of the Frontiere Myanmar, and I work here for about 1.5 years. And before that, I was the editor at the Myanmar Times, and I worked there for about 8 years.
And I forgot to tell you, you cannot look at me, so only him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
So we're doing a project about the Rohingya situation in here in Rakhine.
Yeah.
We heard that it was really difficult to work about it because it's a really sensitive subject.
Yeah.
How do you manage here do you feel that here you can talk about it like completely freely?
Yes, so far yes, for us. We report whatever we want, but I agree that it's a very, very sensitive issue in terms of the politically and in terms of the people emotion. As you know that most of the Burmese people in Myanmar do not accept the words Rohingya. So whenever we use the words Rohingya, they want to criticize us, and then they sometimes they even told us that we got some kind of funding from the Muslim organization or something like that. So it's a very sensitive issue, but it doesn't mean that we do not report about it. We do our job, and we do our job very fairly and in a balanced manner. So, but especially for the Burmese edition, for me, English for the English edition is not that sensitive. For the Burmese edition, we have to be very careful in the wording. But
yeah,
okay, yeah.
We heard that there was a problem with the BBC. I think yesterday was the last time it would be on air in Burma, and what we read on Belgian newspaper about it is that there was like censorship because they used the word Rohingya because they talked about it.
Yes. That BBC was collaborating with the MNTV. MNTV is owned by the Shui Danlin Group, and then the owner of the Shui Danlin Group is very close to the previous government, and also with the current government also. And for them is that they have to follow some kind of regulation, written or unwritten regulation by the Ministry of Information. So they want to censor the BBC because BBC usually use the words Rohingyas, and so they censor some of the programs, and now they broke the T. Yeah, the T is broken.
And you have now no pressure or no censorship from the government anymore? For
us, no censor or no, but only sometimes the government told, not officially from the other channel, that we heard that they are not unhappy about some of our reports, but they didn't tell anything to us directly.
Do you actually have journalists on the field in Rakhine State right now?
Yeah.
Because we heard also that it was really difficult on the field where the attacks happen. I mean, it's impossible to have people there. Is it possible?
Yeah, sure. Currently, we have one of our journalists going to Moldova with a government sponsored trip. That is okay because that is sponsored by arranged by the government. So they have the security and all the pre-arranged by the government. That is not so so interesting, but we do send one of our reporters there. Last week, as soon as the attack happened, we also sent our own reporter and the photographer to the Moldova with our own arrangement, and they managed to sneak into the Moldova with the help of some local journalists. but they face a lot of difficulties. Some of the local people trying to attack them, so they came back as soon as they got the transport. So it's very, very difficult.
By local people, you mean Rakhine people, Rohingya people, or just?
The Rakhine people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of course, if the government gives you authorizations to go there and just controls what you see, controls who you're talking to, it's hard to be independent, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's my next question is about that. Is that we found it really difficult to have reliable sources because, of course, journalists who go on the field are controlled by the government.
Yeah.
So we don't really know who we can trust, to get information. So how do you know who you can trust yourself here?
We have our own. How to say? We know some of the local journalists, but now some of them already have to left their home because there are a lot of security problem there, and also we have to rely on the United Nations or the other NGOs that we think we can trust them. But now the situation is very difficult.
So
we can even trust the local people because the view is now changing, as you know.
Yeah, I guess they're biased.
Yeah.
So you trust the information given by the United Nations?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay.
I think that can be trusted.
And what about like international ONGs that work there, like I don't know, Human Rights Watch or MSF, and
mostly we relied on the information from the groups stationed there, like in the model, like the WFP or the United Nations or something like that. For the Human Rights Watch, we usually use their announcement or statement, and we sometimes interview them. Yeah.
Because when we go on like social networks, we see a lot of people from here saying that NGOs are like liars and that they.
I think that is partly because of the how to say, the brainwash by the government and the Tamil that they always accuse that the NGOs and UN also helping the Rohingya people, not to the Rakhine people. And after the attack happened, the government also announced that they saw the foods and the supply by the WFP in the hands of the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army members. So people think that the international organization helping the terrorists or something like that.
And you believe that is not true? That we met with another journalist yesterday who said the same thing, that people believe that they're helping, and he said that of course, like international aid workers give food and supplies, and that the terrorists like get access to these supplies and use it. Is that information you have too?
My point of view is that the international organization help more to the Rohingyas because they have to stay in the camp and they can go freely as the Rakhine people. For the Rakhine people, they can go wherever they want and they can walk and they can do their job. So what I think is that for the UN and the other aid agencies, they have to help the Rohingya people, because if the Rohingya people needs help because they cannot walk or they can go outside. And for the supplies, what I think is that sometimes people need money, so sometimes they sell back the items they got from the aid agency to get the money to buy the other things and something like that. So that things can be easily bought in the market in that area. We saw such kind of news 1 or 2 years ago. So it's very usual that the terrorists got the things to use them.
About the question of truth we were talking about, we've been told that because the army is locking up the area, no one can go where the houses are burning, where the terrorists are making attacks. So you told us that you managed to escape the government trips and you managed to send journalists on the field, and that you can trust some NGOs and you can trust some locals, but because at the end, is it always second row sources that were not at the moment where it happened? Do you believe that the information you publish in Frontiere are 100% truth and factual, or do you have always a doubt? Is it possible to really be sure that the information are 100% truth, or is it a doubt?
It is very very difficult to verify that information. So we usually do the double check whenever we have a doubt for that information, and also we also check the other sources like the wire agency information or something like that. It's very difficult because as far as we can go is just to the model, and beyond model is we cannot access. So some of the things might be true or not true. It's very difficult. But we usually do our best to verify that.
Because there was a statement from Aung San Suu Kyi yesterday, I think, saying that there was a lot of propaganda in Western medias and fake news. The thing is, it's true that the Western medias get information like where they can, but it's kind of difficult. So, what do you think of this statement from San Suu Kyi? I don't know if you read a lot of Western medias, and what do you think of the information that they are giving?
It is partly true, but for the major news organizations, big news organizations, they are not making the fake news. Actually, the problem is the access to information is the main problem. So the information they got is just from the 1 or 2 sources. So there may be some kind of mistake, or
because we see something a lot is the burning houses. It's kind of funny or strange that on Twitter, I check on Twitter burning houses, and sometimes you see almost the same pictures, and you have Burmese people saying Rohingya terrorists burned their own houses, and then you see the Rohingya saying the army burned our houses, and nobody has like sources on the pictures, and we just have those people saying exactly the same thing. Who can we believe in this case?
It's very hard to tell. For me, is I don't totally agree that the people ban their own houses. Maybe they ban their houses or not. I don't know, because I can see with my eyes. But for the operation area, like in the other parts of the country, like in the Karen and the Kachin, it is sometimes very usual that the army use that tactics to because the other groups are hiding in the village or something like that. So sometimes armies use how to say army bans the village to clear that areas. That is very usual in the other areas. So that's it.
Yeah. We hear lots of reports from big NGOs and the United Nations saying that. Sorry. So we hear a lot of big NGOs and United Nations saying that there might be crimes against humanity and big atrocities in Rakhine caused by the Burmese army. What do you believe about that?
I don't want to say that now everybody says that there is a genocide in that area, but I don't want to say that that is a genocide. But there are a lot of things happening there, and a lot of people have to run. That used to happen in the other areas like Kayin and Kachin. Whenever there was the fighting, there a lot of people have to run, and many people dies because the Burmese army is a very notorious in such kind of things. Yeah, so I think that is also happened in the Rakhine state too. Yeah.
Because the army is really powerful in Myanmar.
Yeah.
Can we say that? What can we say about the responsibility of Aung San Suu Kyi with what the army does?
So sorry.
What is the responsibility of Aung San Suu Kyi about what happens with the army? Because many people say that she like that what happens with the army, she's responsible for it.
Actually, she cannot control the army. The army is very powerful in terms of also in terms of the constitution. The army have a total control by themselves. So the civilian government have little or no control over the army. They can only just negotiate with the army on how to do and what to do, something like that.
And do you believe that they negotiate? That's what do you believe, you or in your newspaper? What do you believe is the position of Aung San Suu Kyi on this issue?
She is trying her best to deal with that problems, but that thing is very complicated, and even in my point of view is that even in a government there are a lot of different different ideas with the people. So sometimes they said that they are negotiating with the army, and then but what we heard is that they are not, doing very well between them. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think Aung San Suu Kyi should condemn the army or what's happening in Rakhine State? Because so far she's been very silent about the situation. Do you think she should condemn it?
I don't think so, because she is going there to the national reconciliation, so if she condemned to the army publicity, that could create some kind of problems and with the how to say democratizing process. Yes.
Would you say then that
maybe she would talk to the army privately or something like that?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's pretty much one thing we thought is that there was a democratic transition now
Yeah.
in Myanmar, and that, as you said, if Aung San Suu Kyi is, like as you just said, publicly condemned, it would put this transition in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So in the end, Rohingyas are like kind of sacrificed
Yeah.
for the democratic transition.
Mhm.
Could we say something like that, or is it too strong? You know, to say that in order to have a good transition, Rohingyas are like forgotten and kind of sacrificed. Je sais pas si c'était très clair comme ça.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. There's something. There was recently that commission with Kofi Annan.
Yes.
We talked yesterday with another journalist who said he was satisfied by the results of the commission, but some things seemed a bit weird. Is that there were, if I remember well, nine people in the commission, and and like 6 Burmese in them. It seemed a bit difficult to have an independent commission if the people in the commission are like led by Aung San Suu Kyi. And
Yeah.
what do you believe of it? Is it possible to have a real independent commission?
For me, it's yes. I think it's independent, but they are. Let me say. But in terms of collecting the information, is very limited because they cannot meet with the Rakhine leaders, and they can how to say in times of the times and the but for the report, I think it's fair enough, and if we can do some of the suggestions, we can solve some of the problems happen in the Rakhine state.
Because there was a willing of the United Nations, I believe, to make its own independent commission, and in March, I believe, and Aung San Suu Kyi didn't want to give them visas, which was
yeah, that's the investigation teams, right?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
And of course, this refusal to give them a visa was not well seen I'd say Western, in Western medias, who believe that it is a sign that she doesn't want people to know what really happens, because of course we tend to believe that people coming and who have no interest in Myanmar and that would make would be more independent. What do you believe of do you believe this commission should have come to Myanmar? From the commission?
For me, it's yes. I think they should come, because and they should come and they should go to that area freely, so that they can see what is happening in the ground in the Rakhine state. So far, is that there is information only come from the Bangladesh side and only from the people who fled the Myanmar. So there may be some kind of some information may be exaggerated or something like that. We can know that. So we should invite such kind of investigation teams to come and see the real situation, and also Rakhine leaders should also accept that things too. Now the Rakhine leaders don't want to meet everyone, so people cannot know what is their opinion.
Yeah, because we hear a lot on social networks, a lot of people saying that Western media lie, but of course, I mean, Western media is the only source primaire, first row information they get is from Bangladesh, so it comes from Rohingya people coming.
Yeah.
So of course, if they cannot go to Rakhine, they get information only from the Rohingyas. So of course, it's completely one-sided.
Sure. Yeah.
Because everything we hear in Western is about atrocities committed on Rohingyas and genocide and everything. So that's what is which are really troubling news for us. When we hear everything they tell us, it seems so it's so violent.
Yeah.
But it's if they don't have these journalists don't have access to Rakhine, they cannot give any other information.
Sure. Yeah.
So it makes the job a bit difficult. Everything we can trust from there is either these people who fled or the information from the government, which is not completely reliable, of course.
Yeah.
Sure. There was a website given to us by a journalist yesterday.
Information committee.
From the information committee.
Yeah.
He said that we should check this website to have access to like numbers and everything. Do you think it makes sense to go on that website?
Yeah, in terms of the number like the casualties and something like that, you can trust if the casualty is like the security personnel and or the Rakhine people, but they never mention the casualties by the Rohingyas and the Rohingya side. That information committee is also one-sided information.
Yeah, of course. Everything seems to be really one-sided, because depending of where we get the information on Western medias or by some really biased NGOs or by Burmese people, we have numbers that are so completely different. Where you see here sometimes like 400 people died, and on the other side you hear 7,000 people died. What are the numbers that you have here? Since the beginning of the violence, it's on 25th of August.
Yeah, 25th.
What is the number you have on like that casualties and people who fled Myanmar?
Yeah, what we had is also the same, like you said. Like the government said the 400 terrorists and some security personnel and some civilian, and what I saw in one of the news is 6,000 people died.
6,000?
Yeah, 6,000 died.
And by in 6,000 you mean like everyone, like police and terrorists and Rohingyas and Rakhine?
6,000, I think they refer to the Rohingyas. Rohingya civilian, I think.
And about the numbers of people who fled to Bangladesh, I guess
it's 100,000, I think, more than 100,000.
Yeah, that's well. For this number, I guess we can believe the UNHCR camp in Cox's Bazar.
Yeah,
I guess those are the most.
And the information committee said that there are about 27,000 refugees locally in Sitri and Mongol, like the ethnic people, like the Rakhine, mostly Rakhine and the Hindu people.
You were talking previously about this official, well, governmental investigation led by Kofi Annan and Aung San Suu Kyi, but I wasn't sure to understand if, according to you, can we trust this commission and their final report, or not?
Sure, we can trust.
Okay, because in the Western media, they told that the report were not mentioning any crimes that would go on against the Rohingyas, and it wasn't talking about all the atrocities like birth control or slaughtering when they're trying to flee, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So, what do you believe happens?
That report is only the recommendation for the government to follow to stabilize and develop the Rakhine state. So for that aspect, we can trust that, and I believe that the government should follow that step, because for example, that report suggests that the Myanmar government should consider to give the citizenship to the Rohingya, and also to amend the citizenship law. That I believe that that government should follow, because that is the only solution which we can do right now to stabilize the Rakhine state.
Even if the report wasn't mentioning, that it was like clearly saying that there was no crime perpetrated by the army in Rakhine state.
Maybe.
What's happening now between this hatred towards Rohingyas? Is it about religion, or is it?
It is partly the religions and also the immigration problems. Actually, that people stay in the Rakhine state for. Some of the Rohingya people stay in the Rakhine state for very, very long time, and in the past about 5 or 10 years ago, there was some nationalist movement, and that things combined with the Rohingya issues, and that became the immigrations and the religious issue now.
Do you believe that the monk Ashin Wiratu is his name? Does he have a big influence in Myanmar? We hear a lot about him. There was a movie about him in France, I believe, or Germany. Does he have a big influence?
Not so influenced, but he has a lot of followers and supporters. So among them is he's a very influence. For the normal people, they don't like him.
They don't?
They don't want him.
Okay, because it was weird, because we read that he was really influenced, and we heard some of his speeches, and it was really really violent.
Yeah.
And I was a bit scared. But also we saw that he was condemned in Myanmar at one point. Yes, he went to jail, right?
Yeah.
Why was he arrested?
During the military government.
Yeah,
under the military government, he went to jail for his political movements.
Because of his movements?
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you believe that Burmese people in general, they hate the Rohingyas because they're refugees, or because they're Muslims?
Okay, the point is that that nationalist people and the were to always talking that Islam were the how to say, there is an Islamization in Myanmar, and the Buddhism will disappear, and that kind of thinking is a problem for some of the people, and they think that if we accept the Rohingya in Myanmar, the Rohingya will grow and the Islam will how do you say, that the Buddhism will disappear in Myanmar, something like that. So
and then do you feel that the other Muslim community should be afraid in Myanmar for their future?
Not really.
Muslims here.
Yeah, this is the Muslim areas, and I don't think Muslim will. There's a Islamization in Myanmar.
But then why are they afraid about the Rohingyas, but not afraid about the other Muslims community in Myanmar?
Actually, that nationalists and the will to say that all Muslims are like a danger for the country. But for most of the normal people, it's like we live peacefully for many years and we have no problems. Yeah. But they sometimes they make up the stories and something like that.
But we hear that there were like extremist monks in Rakhine that attack Rohingyas. We heard about that. Is it true?
When was that?
Like extremist monks. Buddhist monks in Rakhine states that attacked Rohingyas. Is a story we heard a lot, like people who believed, followers of Ashinu Wiratu. Why is there like attacks on Rohingyas, and what is the main difference between the Rohingyas and the Muslims here in Yangon? Because there are a lot of Muslims, and it seems to be people seem here to live together without problems. So we don't get why there is this problem in Rakhine and why it works fine here in Yangon.
For every conflict that happened in Rakhine or that happened in the Meitila, what we heard is that problem started not by the local people. It started by some of the people who arrived by the cars or who arrived by the motorbike, and they started such kind of things, and there's a conflict grow, and like that they started make fire, and then they hit each other and something like that. So I think that is by the extremist people starting that problems, not the local people.
So it's like extremist Buddhist. Right?
Yeah, of course, yes.
In the world now, there is a big, a big sense of solidarity between, from the Muslims from everywhere in the world. I mean, in Chechnya recently, in Turkey, in Europe even, who all say they want to protect and to help their Rohingyas brothers, because they believe that Muslims are brothers. Is there here in Yangon the same sense of solidarity? I mean, if we go here in the Muslim neighborhood and we speak to Muslim people, do you believe that they will say, yeah, we stand for the Rohingyas at the same way that Muslim stand for them in the world?
For that, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean,
maybe you should talk to them.
Yeah, but that's what the end of my question. If we go in the street and we speak to people about Rohingyas, do you believe that people here, because we know it's kind of really sensitive, do we risk anything? Because people told us you don't speak to people about Rohingyas, otherwise people will get angry and maybe will try to get violent if you speak about Rohingyas.
Yeah, you have to care for who you speak to.
Okay.
For some of the people, like the educated people, for them is sometimes okay, but for the normal people, they might be angry.
Okay. Even
because they don't want to accept the box Rohingya.
The word, it's about the word.
Yeah.
Okay. So, even if we just ask, what do you think about Rohingyas? It's not even, you know, even if we don't show any support, even if we ask, what do you think about Rohingyas, people could get angry.
A little bit annoyed, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because even for our Facebook page and the website, there are a lot of complaints because we usually use Rohingya, and people complained a lot, and sometimes they said that you are the Muslim media or something like that.
Okay.
What do you believe is going to happen to the Rohingyas in Myanmar in the future?
That is a very complicated problem. It could take a very long time to solve the problems. I'm not sure what would happen, but that could take Rakhine State deeper and deeper into the poverty, and the more the people are poor, the more the problem would happen.
And according to you, the Rohingyas that they call the ARSA, the Arakan Salvation Army, according to you, are they terrorists or are they rebels fighting the army?
Some of the news suggests that they have the link to the IS or something like that. But for me, I haven't seen any strong proof yet. For me, it's only the rebels. Like people are so poor and they have no hopes, so they think that they have to do something to survive or something like that, and maybe the leadership have some kind of links to the terrorist group. But for the normal people, like they just want to survive.
And in the magazine Frontiere, would you call them terrorists or rebels at the moment?
Now we only refer as the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army.
It's easier like that.
Yeah. Because we don't want to say that they are terrorists, and because it's only the government works.
Yeah, and if you use rebel, people will say you don't use terrorists.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, the frontier between rebel and terrorists is sort of always between resistance and terrorists. It's always can be a point of view, but sometimes if you attack civilians, doesn't it make you a terrorist? You know, it's so even for us, we don't really know what to use because it's as you say, it's hard.
In the information you have at the moment, the reports are talking about death in the civilians, like the Hindu family and other casualties. Are you sure in Frontiere that they have been killed by this ARSA, or we don't really know yet?
We don't really know yet.
Yeah, at the end we get back with our first question about the truth, and can we be sure?
Yeah. So mostly we only refer to as that we got this information from something like that. We quoted the information committee or the UN or something like that. We can know the truth.
Do you think that Burmese people will be able to accept living with the Rohingyas in the future? Like, do you believe that one day Rohingyas will be able to be part of Myanmar and to be given the nationality, or this will never happen?
I don't want to say this will never happen, but it's not easy to happen. Even in the next 10 or 20 years, very difficult, because even people even don't want to accept the words Rohingya. They don't want to call them as Rohingyas. But most of the people are living in the Rakhine state for 1 or 2 generations. They should get a citizenship, I think. But for some of the new arrival, it's okay. But for the people who live there for 2 or 3 generations, they should be accepted as the citizen. That is the only solution we have.
And according to you, who would be responsible of the crisis that is going on now in the Rakhine state?
That is ignorance by the many government. They ignore the problems 10 to 20 years ago or more than that, and the problem is growing day to day. And now there's a lot of people who are poor and who have nothing to do and nothing to eat, and who can go anywhere, and so the things happen.
But now, what can the government, what is the most Aung San Suu Kyi could do? What could she do now to help on what's happening? Is it negotiate with the army? Because there is a lot of blame in the world saying that she's a Nobel Prize winner,
yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
So people have a lot of expectations. She's for the whole world. She's not just a leader of the country. She's a Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of expectation, and the world is getting a bit angry at her. What kind of blame? I mean, how can I say that? I'm not trying to use my words because I'm bad at this. Can we blame her? At what level can we blame her about what's happening now?
Actually, I don't want to blame her, because the problem started before the government, before a government. So I don't want to blame her. But for this problem, she is how to say, she is partly responsible to find a solution. That is a responsibility known as a leader of the state. So as you said, that the whole world is watching how she would solve the problems, and that could be the very difficult task for her because of the pressure from the people, and also pressure from the military.
Yeah, according to you, what should she do?
I'm not so sure.
Because it looks like no one knows.
Yeah, no one knows.
So
I don't know.
Some of the situation, we don't know what's going on there, and we don't know what the government should do with it.
Yeah.
Tricky situation.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to be a Nobel Prize winner if you don't have, if you're not in charge of the leadership, because it would be easier for her if it happened in in another country, and she could say that war is not good and that killing is bad. And
because even the recommendation in the Kofi Annan commission, like giving them citizenship, etc., she will manage to make this happen, you believe?
She may try, I think, but that could be very difficult. because the army control the 25% of the parliament, so it's not very easy to pass the amendment, and the people will not accept that too. Most of the people will not accept that too.
Do you still have anything?
No, difficult situation.
Very difficult.
Seems like there is few hopes. Despite fleeing to Bangladesh, that would arrange everything but Bangladesh. But
Yeah, the thing is that life seems so hard for Rohingyas in Rakhine.
Yeah.
Wouldn't their life be easier in Bangladesh? But I don't know if they want to leave, and I don't know if, because they believe that they say that we are from Rakhine. I guess they don't want to go to Bangladesh. And I don't know if Bangladesh wants to accept like 1 million people, because
Yeah.
it's a lot of people. Yeah. The word Rohingyas means Rakhine, right? I read that somewhere. That in Rohingya's language, the word Rohingyas means Rakhine.
I'm
You
not
know this,
sure
right?
that. I'm not sure.
I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
That's not completely sure. Well, je sais pas si vous avez encore
no,
anything anywhere.
no, it's interesting to see that at the end of the day we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening there.
People are asking us too.
We don't even know where's the end.
Where is?
Where's the end?
No.
The end will be the very long,
Yeah.
long way.
And people ask us a lot of questions because even for us, we're just coming here to make our project, and people in Belgium have a lot of expectations from us, and they're just like, okay, you were there, you have answers now, and we're like, we in Belgium believe that it's so easy that people get killed, so
Yeah.
the army is bad, Rohingya are good, and it would just say, Aung San Suu Kyi has to say stop, and if she says so, it would stop. That's what people believe.
Yeah.
And it's not
And,
as easy.
If you are interested, there is one debate organized by the army tomorrow.
On what?
Yeah. It's
I didn't understood what you. A debate about
debates.
what?
Debate about the Rakhine issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait. Arranged by the army.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me check. I'll show you.
We try to be careful.
So you can go there as an observer. And
A debate about why would the army organize such a debate?
Yeah.
what's that? This way.
C'est intéressant ça. Ça peut être intéressant, ce débat. Peut-être pas y aller en tant que journaliste, mais.
And here.
Oh. September 7th is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write your address.
Can we talk?
Sorry.
On va le prendre en photo, ça.
Or you want me to send that to
Sure.
to the group?
Yeah,
Do a chat. Yeah. That's better.